It's 8 o'clock. This is the UK Tonight. Coming up, the national inquiry into the grooming gang scandal suffers another setback. The only candidate left to lead the inquiry has pulled out, accusing politicians of hijacking the process.
Everybody needs to park their own petty, personal or political issues and focus on what's right for victims.
Now, this follows 4 survivors resigning from the liaison panel as the Prime Minister promises to put them at the heart of the inquiry. Also tonight, a boy is jailed for the murder of Harvey Wilgoose. The 15-year-old was attacked and killed by his fellow pupil, Mohammed Umar Khan, at a school in Sheffield in February. Today, he was sentenced to life with a minimum term of 16 years. Plus, a man deported to France as part of the one-in, one-out scheme is caught coming back to the UK on a small boat, as the number of migrants crossing the Channel this year passes the total for the whole of 2024. And the pioneering new liver cancer treatment that sees ultrasound attacking tumours will speak to the first NHS patient to undergo the procedure. All that and more to come here on the UK Tonight. Good evening. We begin the UK Tonight with the growing pressure on the government over grooming gangs, with the national inquiry into the scandal seemingly now in disarray. This week, 4 abuse survivors quit the liaison panel, accusing officials of watering the inquiry down. And today, the only remaining candidate to become its chair withdrew from the process, taking aim at the highly charged and toxic environment, he said, saying the survivors deserve to have better. This all comes after the Prime Minister said the government was committed to getting to the truth, promising to put victims at the heart of the process. Sky's Adele Robinson has more.
Another blow to the national grooming gangs inquiry, thrown into uncertainty as yet another potential chair pulls out.
It's with a heavy heart that I step back from this.
Former Police Chief Jim Gamble, who once led the UK's child protection agency, CEOP, was seen as the last remaining candidate. He accused politicians of hijacking the process.
Everybody needs to park their own petty, personal or political issues and focus on what's right for victims. In stepping back, I am trying to do that. But these other individuals need to stop playing games with this, because actually this is the opportunity of a lifetime. And I've heard someone say, well, we've waited this long, so we can wait a bit longer. The longer you wait, the more stale the evidence will get. The more people who need to be held account will move on and retire or die.
He follows Annie Hudson, a former social worker and head of Lambeth Children's Services, who stepped down earlier this week too, after a backlash from victims. 4 abuse survivors quit the inquiry, accusing the government of watering it down.
We've waited years for justice, we've waited years for closure, we've waited years for the truth. The timing is really, it doesn't matter. As long as we know that it's going to be done properly and impartial and the truth is going to be out there, we would be able to wait to ensure that that's done and it succeeds as it should.
Should they wish to return, the door will always be open.
The Prime Minister rejected concerns the ethnicity of offenders in grooming gangs would be ignored.
The inquiry is not and will never be watered down. Its scope will not change. It will examine the ethnicity and religion of the offenders, and we will find the right person to chair the inquiry.
But the leader of the opposition said Safeguarding Minister Jess Phillips had lost confidence of victims.
One of the survivors has said, and I quote, "Jess Phillips needs to be removed because I don't think her conduct during this has been acceptable for the position that she holds."
Mr. Speaker, I respect the views of all the survivors, and there are different views. I accept that. But the Safeguarding Minister, I think, has probably more experience than any other person in this House in dealing with violence against women and girls.
It's been a major blow to the inquiry, now with no name left on the table to lead it. What this all shows is a deep level of mistrust between survivors and the government and anyone at all associated with organisations that failed them so terribly in the past. The question now is who will step up to take this on, rebuild confidence and rescue an inquiry that's become mired in controversy. Adele Robinson, Sky News.
Well, we'll speak to a couple of survivors in a second, but first, our political correspondent Rob Powell joins us now from Westminster. Rob, does Jim Gamble have a point that this has all become just too politicised now?
It has become very political. It's been very political for most of the year, ever since, really, the issue of an inquiry was thrust back into the spotlight predominantly by the interventions of Elon Musk over the water. I think, though, what the government really needs to do now is on a couple of levels. There's obviously the practical challenge about finding someone to chair this actual inquiry. I think there is a question about who practically that could be, given it seems pretty clear from events of the last few days that someone drawn from institutions of the state that let down survivors and victims at the time, that they would find it very, very difficult to command the confidence of people affected by this, of victims and survivors. So, look, does that end up meaning that it has to be a judge, a retired High Court judge, someone that's essentially beyond reproach, whose independence and credibility can't really be questioned? Government sources saying that they're considering a range of other candidates now. And then I think there is the broader effort to sort of inject back into this the confidence of people involved, survivors, victims, and inject credibility back into this as well. And that is a wider project that the government will have to embark on. You saw Jess Phillips coming under a lot of scrutiny in the Commons a little bit earlier. I think the difficulty with this, and what really matters from a government perspective of how to handle this, is that you are talking about an inquiry that is seeking to get to the truth of what happened to people who have been let down already by huge swathes of the state and arms of the state. So they have very little faith in this process from the outset. So what the government says, its interactions with survivors and victims, how they're presented, what words they use, matter hugely. And I think that, when it comes to this idea of a consultation, of broadening out the inquiry, is where things have gone wrong once again for Jess Phillips. So I think she probably has quite a bit of work to do personally to restore confidence in her. And then you see the work going on more broadly across government. Shabana Mahmood talking about how this will not be watered down on her watch, how issues connected to ethnicity will be considered as well. Because inquiries like these really live and die by how much faith people have in the process and the faith people have to actually get to the bottom of things. If you don't have that confidence from people, you don't have any credibility. And if you don't have any credibility, there's limited purpose in really doing it at all.
Thank you very much indeed. Well, let's explore some of those points that Rob made just there now with survivor and campaigner Sammy Woodhouse and Marlon West, whose daughter Scarlett was groomed from the age of 14. Really appreciate you both joining me. How are you both? Sammy, how are you?
I'm all right, thank you.
Good. Marlon, how are you? How's Scarlett too?
I'm fine. Scarlett's great at the moment.
Good to hear. Good to hear. What do you both think about what's happened today, sort of casting doubt on how this inquiry is going to progress, Sammy?
I think it's really disappointing. You know, we all want this inquiry to work. We want and need that truth and accountability. And, you know, for people like me, we're constantly told, you know, we're going to do this, you know, we're just given so much hope, and then we're always let down. Now, what we've got to remember when we're talking about an inquiry is not only have you got to tackle the most horrific of crimes that's been happening to children, we're talking about grooming, rape, torture, children being criminalised, impregnated and murdered. And then you've got all the agencies that are meant to protect us failing. You know, and this cover-up goes right up to the Home Office, which my own case proves it's been happening for decades. But then you've also got the race and religion element to that. And as we know, as it's proven in reports in courts of law, people have been scared to tackle this issue because, you know, they're scared of being called racist or Islamophobic. So what you are kind of also taking on is Islam, and everybody's absolutely terrified to do that. Now, I think it was a bit of a disaster to put a police officer and a social worker, you know, there to lead. And I'm not for 1 second saying that all police officers and social workers are bad. I know they're not. I've worked with nearly every police force in England and Wales. I work with, you know, councils and social workers all around the country to try and help better this problem. But what you've got to remember is the failures, what happened to us by social workers, by the police. And I'll also be honest, I don't think it was a great idea putting a panel of vulnerable people together. I think they should have, you know, been spoken to individually. to protect them and all their information. And I know some people are upset with, I suppose an NDA being put in place. And I do understand that, you're dealing with sensitive and confidential information. But let's just say, if that was breached, I mean, what are they going to do? Are they going to sue the survivors?
Sammy, you've made a lot of points there, Sammy. I want to bring Marlon in as well, by the way, but just to address some of those points, I think Shabana Mahmood has been fairly clear today, hasn't she, that looking at ethnicity is not off the table. She wants to do that, wants to look into the backgrounds of these men who are part of these grooming gangs, wherever they happen to be. Marlon, what's your take? And perhaps you can tell us what Scarlett thinks about this as well.
I'm really frustrated. I've been campaigning for, the last 2 years for a national inquiry. And then we're hit with this week about the poor performance. I've said this before, as far as the chair, this should have been done before the summer break. They do appear to be stalling. Jess Phillips hasn't made a good job on this. It reflects really poorly on her. And I do think if the Labour government want to get the confidence back with the public, but more importantly, the survivors, just should resign. Scarlett remains in...
Marlon, let me just come back on that point, because a lot of people, Prime Minister as well, very much in support of what Jess Phillips has done. She's been very forthcoming, very vocal about her support for victims of sexual abuse and other elements of that as well. But you think she should resign over this, do you?
Yeah, I've met with Jess twice. Once before Christmas, once after Christmas, before the national inquiry came out. And she was very clear with me that she wouldn't support me with my campaign for a national inquiry. The only reason they've done the national inquiry is because of the rapid review by Louise Casey. And I believe they were cornered by the public and the opposition to actually do the inquiry. And from day one, it's been a poor performance. And, I'm not the only person saying this. A lot of families and survivors are saying they have no confidence in Jess Phillips.
OK. It begs the question, then, what needs to be done now to get this potentially back on track, Sammy? Is whoever is appointed chair key to this? And if that is the case, who should that be?
Yeah, I think what they're going to have to do is just start all over again. I think I'm at the point now where I think, do we bring somebody in from overseas? Because, for a team to be able to tackle this, they're going to lose absolutely everything. People are too concerned with politics, with their reputation. You need somebody to come in and not be worried about any of that. You need to have brave, strong leadership. And I honestly can't think of anyone in the UK that's going to want to take something like this on. I really don't. And to be honest, I think this has always been about politics. I think it always will. I don't think the Labour government or even the Tories, because they had their opportunity to do something about it, they weren't interested either. I don't think we've got anybody in our government or in power that will be brave enough to tackle this. And I think it's going to be left to survivors, to family members, and towards us, the public, to do that. Now, I'm leading the independent rape gang inquiry set up by MP Rupert Lowe. Marlon is also on that team with Natalie Enderby. And we are working with survivors throughout all the UK. Our hearings will be in early next year, and our report will follow. One thing that we won't do is leave any stone unturned. We don't care about politics, about race, about religion. We are going to cover as many topics as we can, and we're going to keep on going until we get truth and accountability.
And I know you're both involved in that, which, Marlon, begs the question, if you're both involved in that inquiry that's being led by Rupert Lowe, and you're happy with an MP, a sitting MP like him, effectively chairing that, correct if I'm wrong, why do you then need this public inquiry to succeed if that one's going on at the same time?
I guess for me, the difference is with Rupert's, it's an independent inquiry. And Rupert did that when no other political party was listening.
Yeah.
And
Although
national inquiry.
they did respond by saying that they would collaborate with him. Jess Phillips said she would collaborate with it when he mentioned it in Parliament.
My understanding, that's never happened. And the reason why we need a national inquiry is because it's got statutory powers. That's the important bit. Independent inquiries, although we're doing an amazing job, we're working really, really hard, but we can't get police officers, MPs to actually come to the inquiry without statutory powers. So it's important, I believe, that both run alongside each other.
I just want to finish off, because we've only got a minute left, really, and I'm acutely aware exactly of who I'm talking to, people who've been deeply affected by the disgusting criminal actions of other people. I mean, you know, we need to remind ourselves of that fact, Sammy, in your case, and Marlon in Scarlett's case as well. Just how important then, given what you just said, Marlon, is it that this thing somehow succeeds briefly? Marlon?
So I'm going to speak a little bit for Scarlett here. So Scarlett doesn't disagree with the survivors who've dropped out of the national inquiry. However, what she's saying is, Dad, I need to stay in the national inquiry because I don't want anyone else to go through what I've gone through. And if that means that I've got to tolerate this, then be it. But I need to stay in because it's the only option to get any change.
And Sammy, just finally to you, I mean, you know, people are aware of Rochdale and Rotherham and other places, but is there a part of this just finally fully uncovering the scale of what was going on?
I think with the help of Elon Musk bringing this to attention, you know, the fact that we've had to get some different overseas to actually do this because no one in government want to. But I think because of him, we're now having bigger conversations amongst the public. But this inquiry has to be successful. There's no point having an inquiry if it's not done properly. And as we know from the other inquiries, such as the ICSA, recommendations weren't put in place. I really want the inquiry to work. I personally don't think they'll be strong enough to focus and tackle it how it needs to be. But what I will say, Rupert Lowe has again been in contact with Jess and offered that we, me, Marlon, Nat and Rupert, we will be there, if they need our assistance, absolutely. We want it to succeed because we don't want children to be failed. This isn't something of the past. This is happening still right now.
Sammy, Marlon, really appreciate you joining us. Never enough time to talk about such an important issue, of course, but thanks for joining us nonetheless.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, a teenage boy has been sentenced today to a minimum of 16 years in prison for murdering 15-year-old Harvey Wilgoose. Mohammed Umar Khan was named today after the judge lifted an anonymity order and was found guilty of stabbing Harvey at All Saints Catholic High School in Sheffield in February. Our North of England correspondent Katerina Vitozzi has this report and a warning. It contains descriptions of injuries of Harvey that he sustained that you may find distressing.
This is school CCTV from the day that Sheffield student Harvey Wilgoose was stabbed to death. He's here, marked by a blue dot, being pushed by the fellow student who would go on to kill him. 15-year-old Mohammed Umar Khan, known as Umar, stabbed Harvey twice in the chest with a 13-centimetre hunting knife that he'd brought with him into school that day. Now, he's been sentenced to a minimum of 16 years in prison.
The head teacher, Mr. Sean Pender, placed his arm around your shoulder and took you to his office. Whilst awaiting the arrival of the police, you told him, "I'm not right in the head. My mum doesn't look after me right. I've stabbed him," saying that you had stabbed Harvey once or twice. The force which you used was severe, as indicated by the fact that your knife had cut through the full thickness of one of Harvey's ribs.
The details of this case have been truly shocking. Harvey was just 15, like Umar, a student at All Saints Catholic High School. On the day that Umar killed him, it was just moments before the school lunch break, and they were outside the school canteen. Harvey was killed by Umar in front of other students. Some, terrified, barricaded themselves into cupboards. In the aftermath, teachers had to talk Umar into putting down the knife. During the trial, it was revealed he'd had previous violent outbursts at school, and teachers had called the police when Umar's mother reported she'd found a weapon that turned out to be an axe in his bag at home. These, Harvey's family believe, were opportunities missed.
Knowing all the red flags that were there, we shouldn't be here. There were too many red flags, and he shouldn't be where he is, and our Harvey shouldn't be where he is.
And by red flags, you mean previous behaviour that you feel was missed?
Should have picked up on it with the axe, his behaviour in school. We want lessons to be learned, and we want answers. We won't stop until, we get answers.
In a statement, Harvey's school say they are fully cooperating into an investigation into Harvey's death and the lead up to it. But the officer who led the police investigation says things have already changed.
I think a lot of schools have reviewed their lockdown policies as a result. I think many schools have run lockdown drills, and I think it's just made people more aware that, although incredibly rare, this kind of situation can happen, and it's better to be prepared for it.
Harvey's family describe him as lovable, cheeky, a real character. His death has devastated them, and they want to know if it could have been prevented. Katerina Vitozzi, Sky News in Sheffield.
Coming up here on the UK Tonight, a man sent back to France under the one-in, one-out scheme has managed to come back to the UK again on a small boat. We'll bring you more on that. Also ahead, the latest from Rome as the King and the Queen arrive for a historic visit to the Vatican. Plus, an amateur runner from East Sussex has set a new women's world record after running 173 miles in 24 hours. She's now stopped, she's rested. I'll be speaking to her later on as well.
I witnessed the complete destruction of a place linked to my childhood memories.
This is insane.
I'm Yusra Al-Bagher, Sky's Africa correspondent based in Johannesburg, South Africa. I felt awe when we saw the mountain gorillas in Rwanda.
We call him the king of the jungle. This is the alpha silverback.
Sky News, get the full story first.
And the Home Office has confirmed that a man who was sent back to France under the government's one-in, one-out scheme has returned to the UK on a small boat. It comes as Sky News understands the number of people who've come to the UK on small boats so far this year has now surpassed the total number who arrived in 2024. Meanwhile, the Prime Minister's been hosting Western Balkans leaders for a summit about forming closer relationships and sanctioning people smuggling gangs. Our Deputy Political Editor Sam Coates has more.
I'm at Lancaster House, where Keir Starmer and Foreign Secretary Yvette Cooper were meeting Western Balkan leaders and EU officials to talk migration, but the backdrop has been challenging. One migrant who was deported to Paris under the one-in, one-out UK-France deal has ended up back in the UK. He's now being detained. The Iranian said that he did not regard France as a safe country, the UK having to looking to return him as soon as possible. Another milestone today that Keir Starmer wouldn't have wanted to see was the fact that the number of people crossing in small boats has exceeded the whole of 2024 after just 10 months. So the question is, can the Prime Minister fix it in a way that he has been promising the British public? Well, the Western Balkan Summit, partly about migration. Today, they were trying to agree new sanctions that they hope that the EU and other countries will follow along with. They're also setting up all sorts of working committees to work more closely together on that frontier of Europe to try and stop the gangs and restrict the ability of people smugglers to work. So how will that work in practice? We do not know yet, but Keir Starmer spent the day trying to convince fellow leaders to do more to stop people smuggling.
That's Sam Coates. Now, the King and Queen have arrived in Italy ahead of a historic visit to the Vatican, which will see Charles become the first monarch in 500 years to pray with the Pope. But it comes in the middle of a difficult week for the royal family, with allegations still surrounding Prince Andrew, and they're threatening to overshadow the trip. Our royal correspondent Rhiannon Mills reports now from Rome.
Arriving in Rome ahead of this historic moment with the Pope, the smiles cover what has been the most difficult week, with global attention focused on Prince Andrew. But as they were here representing the government, the Prime Minister back in London was facing more questions about Prince Andrew and his home, Royal Lodge.
Will the Prime Minister support a select committee inquiry so all those involved can be called for evidence, including the current occupant?
Well, it's important in relation to all properties, Crown properties, that there is proper scrutiny. I certainly support that.
Andrew's living arrangements and the Met Police looking into claims against him, which he denies, have already been a distraction from one of the King's important interfaith visits to Manchester on Monday. Religious commentator Catherine Pepinster says this significant trip may be what the royal family needs.
It will show the King doing what the King does, meeting other world leaders, representing the United Kingdom on the world stage, a reminder of what his work is about.
Tomorrow, as the new Pope, Pope Leo XIV, welcomes the King and Queen, they will make history, becoming the first pontiff and monarch to pray publicly together for 500 years since the Reformation. Cardinal Vincent Nichols, the head of the Roman Catholic Church in England and Wales, has travelled to Rome for the service inside the Sistine Chapel.
So tomorrow for you, how important will this moment of prayer be during what has been a difficult week, I suppose, for the royal family?
What we express before God is the troubles and the pains of our hearts and our lives. And I'm sure the difficulties that the royal family face at the moment will be part of that prayer. Similarly, Pope Leo has plenty of problems to attack.
All this week, Buckingham Palace have really wanted to stress they are not ignoring the seriousness of these allegations. But a statement from the King's spokesperson as they landed really says it all, trying to draw our attention back onto the religious significance of what we're going to see in the next 24 hours and emphasising just how much this moment means to the King. Which means his staff for at least one day will be doing all they can to shut out the unwelcome distraction of his brother. Rhiannon Mills, Sky News in Rome.
Still to come here on the UK Tonight, the leaked recording revealing major concerns about safety at one of the country's largest housing associations. And the pioneering new liver cancer treatment that sees ultrasound used to attack tumours. I'll be chatting to the first NHS patient to undergo that incredible procedure. Now, Sky News has obtained a leaked recording of a senior manager from the UK's largest housing association, Clarion, instructing an employee how to pretend he's put up an important fire notice in one of their buildings. The case is raising fresh concerns that the safety of people in social housing just isn't being taken seriously enough by landlords after an expert told us the missing information could have resulted in death or serious injury during a fire. Our social affairs correspondent Becky Johnson has been taking a look.
What you're about to hear is a senior manager at Clarion, the UK's largest housing association, tell one of her team he can pretend he's put up an important fire safety notice in one of their buildings.
No one can't listen into our calls. Okay, so if you don't get access tomorrow, all right, don't tell anyone I told you this.
Yeah.
Just put it up in a plain bit of wall.
Yeah.
Take a picture.
Okay, got ya.
It's done. Don't make a habit doing that, though.
Yeah, no, I hear you.
The call then continues.
You better never tell no one I told you that, you know.
Yeah, no, that's good. I'll do that.
I'm trying to help you hit your targets.
Yeah, 100%.
All right, but let's not make a habit of it.
Yeah, no, definitely. All right, cool.
All right. I bet I can trust you, you know.
Yeah, definitely.
If you don't, I'll come and find you.
The poster he's supposed to have been putting up is a notice asking any residents with disabilities or vulnerabilities to contact Clarion. That's so the London Fire Brigade could make a plan to get them out of the building in the event of a fire. It's part of compliance with new regulations brought in after the Grenfell Tower fire. The conversation on the recording took place in 2022, as this email reporting it to Clarion's HR team explains. This was sent in September 2023 by the employee involved, reporting that he was directed to create a deceptive visual representation for a fire risk action. A year later, in September 2024, the recording was sent to management and then they began investigating. The manager involved wasn't sacked until summer 2025, almost 2 years after Clarion were first told about it. Clarion say that in 2023, no supporting evidence was provided despite our request. When an audio recording was shared with us, we immediately launched a full investigation, which led to the dismissal of a staff member. They add, our investigation included interviews of all relevant team members to ensure this was an isolated incident. The manager involved was in charge of around 40 blocks in North London. Plans for evacuating vulnerable residents should be stored in boxes like this in high-rise blocks. And just to be clear, the consequence of that information not being readily available to the fire brigade?
Could be death, serious injury to the person.
This chartered surveyor specialises in fire safety. We played the recording to him. Would you see this as an isolated incident, or do you think this could be industry-wide?
It will be industry-wide, yes. Money saving? Couldn't care less. Lessons haven't been learnt. It won't happen to me. You know, the same thing that happened with Grenfell, which I and other people were warning about being ignored.
This matters not just to the thousands of people who live in Clarion buildings, but also because Clarion is a major home builder. The government has an ambitious plan to build 1.5 million homes by the end of this Parliament, and companies like Clarion will be needed if they're going to deliver that. A government spokesperson said these allegations show a total disregard of vulnerable people. Those breaking the law can already face prosecution, and we're introducing new laws so that residential personal emergency evacuation plans are required for all high-rise homes.
Just put it up in a plain bit of wall.
Yeah.
Take a picture.
Okay, got ya.
But this recording will confirm fears of social housing residents who don't believe their safety is always taken seriously. Becky Johnson, Sky News, North London.
Now, an incredible story coming up in a second, but first some breaking news to bring you, because Thames Valley Police have said an investigation into 4 men who were arrested over an unauthorised projection onto Windsor Castle has concluded, and no further action will be taken against them. You may remember this happened ahead of Donald Trump's visit to the King and Queen at Windsor Castle. And yes, they projected pictures of Jeffrey Epstein and that man who was in the headlines this week, Prince Andrew as well. But Thames Valley Police in the past few moments have confirmed that there will be no further action brought against 4 men who were arrested over these projections onto Windsor Castle. Now, as I mentioned, pretty incredible story, because a British man has become the first NHS patient to receive a pioneering non-invasive treatment for liver cancer, the hysterotipsy procedure. I knew I'd get that wrong, but we've got a doctor coming on who'll tell us how it's said. Anyway, it sees ultrasound energy destroy tumours, and it took place at Addenbrooke's Hospital in Cambridge, where 80-year-old Roger Jackson underwent the treatment. It takes as little as 30 minutes without the need for surgery, radiation, or chemotherapy. And I'm really glad to say Roger joins us now, as it does Dr. Tuk Chun Si, a consultant interventional radiologist who led the procedure. Dr. Tuk, did I say it right? Can you tell us how it's said?
Hysterotipsy is the technology.
Great. I'm glad to hear it. Before we learn more about it, Roger, I have to ask, how are you feeling?
I'm fine. Absolutely normal. Thanks to Dr. C.
Good evening. Nice meeting you again.
And you.
Oh, it's a bit of a reunion then. Have you not seen each other in a little while then, since this happened?
No. Not spoken, nothing.
Oh, amazing, amazing. Well, listen, Dr. C, let me ask you then about this all-important procedure, because as I described there in the introduction, it meant that Roger didn't have to have chemotherapy, it wasn't invasive, no surgery, and all over in a flash, it seems.
Indeed. So it is a novel technology. It's, like you rightly say, it uses ultrasound to energy to mechanically destroy cancer cells. And the cancer cell will break down and then become liquefied. And this will be absorbed by the body in time to come. So Roger had the procedure last Wednesday, and he did remarkably well. He could eat and drink after the procedure and discharged fairly soon. And you can see him now. He's very well after kind of a week or less than a week after the procedure.
And I'm sure Roger won't mind me saying that he is 80 years old. And I'm guessing that more invasive procedures that are normally used for this kind of thing can have unwanted side effects. I mean, just recovering from that is hard enough, regardless of the cancer.
Well, yes, as far as I was concerned, I just laid on a bed for half an hour or so and was bathed in water, apparently. But it all went fine.
Roger, when they said to you this was brand new, you would be the first person on the NHS to get this treatment, a little bit of a guinea pig, really. How did that make you feel? Did you just think, I'm going to go for it, nothing to lose, or were there any nerves there?
No, not really. In a sense, I was privileged to be the first in Europe, I gather. And as far as I'm concerned, I was very grateful for it, especially that I wasn't stitched up or anything.
I mean, that really is a bonus, isn't it? And Roger, what's the story with the cancer now? I know that they'll probably have to keep checking you for quite a while yet, but is it so far so good?
Yes. I'll go in 5 weeks, I think it is, for the first scan, just to check to see what's happened.
Dr. C,
as far as I'm concerned, I've felt nothing and have felt nothing.
Well, great. Well, long may that continue. Dr. C, back to you. This does sound revolutionary. How soon can it be used on other patients with liver cancer like Roger? How soon can it be used on maybe other cancers as well? Is that possible?
Very good question indeed. Currently, the technology is authorized by the MHRA for the use for treatment in primary and secondary liver cancers. It means liver cancer arising from the liver, as well as liver cancer spread from other organs or other cancers. So there is still a lot of work needs to be done to establish, the best patient group, the most optimal cancer care for histotripsy. But the scope is very wide, so it could be applied to other organs such as kidneys and other soft tissue cancers. And further research obviously is indicated, but the technology is so impressive in that it is completely non-invasive. You don't need an incision, and you have faster recovery, and by that, it saves NHS beds. So there is a lot of advantages, and therefore we are working towards new evidence to look at any other possible treatment opportunities using this technology.
And just to finish off, Dr. C, I mean, so many remarkable people like you working in the NHS to help people like Roger. But it's important to ask, does this approach, does it save money? Is it expensive to do, or could it be a lot cheaper in the long run if it means there are fewer people involved, there's less surgery, less recovery as well for patients?
Certainly, so health economy is an important feature, and given the fact that histotripsy is completely non-invasive, so there is no ITU beds, requirement, there is no prolonged ward requirements, and also patient, if they work, they can return to work fairly rapidly. So in the long run, there will be benefit for NHS in terms of financial perspective, and also be benefit to the patients in terms of getting back to their routine, to their work, and to their daily lifestyle.
Dr. C, appreciate you talking to us. And Roger, it's great to see you so soon after this, well, non-invasive operation, of course. And long may your good health continue. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Remarkable stuff. You are watching Sky News. Coming up next, I will be speaking to the amateur runner who has managed to set a new women's world record after running just 173 miles in 24 hours. Remarkable. And Australia hand England their first defeat of the tournament at the Women's Cricket World Cup. More on that too.
People that pod together, they have a little hive brain going on. They've not had a good week.
I've had a good week. There's a teaser there, a teaser.
Oof. OK, nothing to see here. Drama over. Full stop. Anyway, we'll get to that. She will be mortified.
She's the first female chancellor. I popped upstairs, made myself a cheese sandwich, and now I'm with you.
Analyse has come dressed in the magenta of electoral dysfunction. Available wherever you get your podcasts.
Mr. Trump, James Matthews from Sky News.
Hey, James.
I'm James Matthews, and I'm Sky's US correspondent, based here in Washington, D.C. Mr. President, what will you say next to Benjamin Netanyahu? In June 2009, did you stay at the apartment in Manhattan of Jeffrey Epstein?
I'm not answering any questions about him.
I'm Martha Kellner and I'm Sky's US correspondent. I've interviewed some of America's most recognisable politicians. Should the Defence Secretary and the Vice...
Wait, what country are you
from? The UK.
Okay, we don't give a crap about your opinion and your reporting.
Mr Walker, you're anti-abortion, but 2 women say that you paid for their abortions. Are you a hypocrite, sir?
Connor, what did you say to the President? What did you say?
We had a great meeting. He was a great man.
I'm David Blevins, one of Sky's US correspondents, based in Washington, D.C.
David Blevins from Sky News. Fire chiefs say that they're really stretched to the limit and running out of water. What have you got to say to that?
I've witnessed the remarkable passion for politics here.
Why only in America? Why is this American exceptionalism? I just want to understand why you do not think that guns are the problem.
Why is this just an American problem?
The anger too, and the division.
Where are you from? From Sky News, UK.
Yeah.
Back up.
Mr Navarro,
I'm allowed to ask questions, aren't I?
I'm Mark Stone and I'm Sky's US correspondent based here in Washington, D.C.
Vladimir Putin calls you outstanding, Mr. Musk. Has your ego and ignorance cost Ukrainian lives?
David Cameron needs to worry about his own country, and frankly, he can kiss my ass.
Mr. Patel, did you endanger public safety when you said the killer was in custody?
Free wherever you get your news.
What words do you have for Harry Dunn's family today?
Have a nice day.
Do you fear a fourth indictment? Is it a draw?
Welcome back. Time for a spot of sport now. We'll get on to the Champions League in a second, Mark. But let's talk about cricket. And it's always bad news when Australia beat England in any sport, but especially in cricket and the Women's World Cup as well.
It's that great rivalry we love, don't we? I suppose, but it's difficult when we're on the wrong side of it, like England were today in the Cricket World Cup. Many asking now, are Australia favourites to go on and win this World Cup? You'd have to say it looks so at the moment because, you know, they're the team in form. They're the force to be reckoned with, defending champions. They won 3 out of the last 5 Cricket World Cups. And you look at how they performed today, it was a bit ominous. 68 for 4 they were at one point, chasing a reasonably modest England total of 240-odd. But the way they came back from that, a partnership of 180 to see the game out, just looked really maybe a moment of concern there for England as to how they didn't have the answers to get the breakthrough. Yeah. And it was difficult. But as far as England are concerned, they're still in the tournament. They're in the semi-finals. The hope is still there. So that's the cricket. Let's take a look at what's happening tonight.
Staying connected is vital for business. Sky Business sponsors this report.
Okay. Are you ready? Yeah.
35 prisoners were released from Barlini prison this morning, but only one left in a limousine.
Duncan spoke about the letters he's had when he was in prison, and that created a bond between Duncan and Everton.
It's not just words. I love them, and I'll always love them.
It's the story which has gripped Merseyside. Walter Smith's future on the line. The Everton boss apparently close to quitting over the multi-million-pound sale of captain Duncan Ferguson to Newcastle.
We were under pressure from the bank to get the overdraft down.
It upset me. You try to move on. It's not easy for me. I couldn't rub off my tattoo, could I? The fans adore him.
Sky Business sponsors this report.
Well, more violence is erupting in Dublin this evening. We're going to go straight to Conor Gillis, who's there for us tonight. Conor, bring us up to date with what's happening tonight.
Yeah, another night of violence here on the outskirts of the city. I can tell you that several hundred people have gathered on the outskirts of a hotel housing asylum seekers here in the Irish capital. And this follows several nights of unrest here following the alleged sexual assault of a 10-year-old girl, local girl from this community. And a man has been arrested and is in custody for that alleged assault. Suggestions that he is a resident within that large complex housing asylum seekers. Well, you're seeing these live images. Riot police have indeed been deployed on the streets here. People wearing balaclavas, I would say, fairly young people behind this disorder. I can hear the sound of police dogs in the distance, the soundtrack of the police helicopter overhead as well across the evening. And if the camera just pans down here, we can see several people essentially dismantling part of the road. And that particular scene is essentially the road being broken up, and then the bricks from that are being used to chuck at police officers. There is simmering tension here in this community around the situation of immigration. The Gardaí, the local police here in Dublin, have been clear that this is being fueled by several actors online. Sorry, we are being pushed back. Apologies. We are now being severely pushed back by the police. Bear with us while we do this. The police are now charging at these hundreds of protesters. We are also being pushed back as this happens. The police helicopter is now also following us overhead as well. And, well, clearly, this is quite a tense moment indeed. The riot police in their vans are just up there ahead. They're pushing forward to try and essentially kettle the protesters to try and get this under control. We were speaking to one officer, clearly this is unconfirmed, but one officer here who suggested that several police have been injured as part of these chaotic scenes. Another firework has been lobbed there as well. And this is night 2 of this. The city, the officials, the authorities here attempting to get this under control. There were severe warnings from the Gardaí commissioner here in the city today around this situation, saying it was violent thuggery. And certainly the people that we have been speaking to on the ground here have suggested that they are angry and that they want the situation around immigration to be more controlled. Clearly, this is very much a live situation. Police are now continuing to charge, and we're going to push back again, bringing you this live here on Sky News. I would say 300 or so people are probably standing where we are at the moment, and most of them masked and hooded, wearing balaclavas, and the age range here, I would say, is from 15 2:30. I think we'll leave you just with these live images as it stands. Clearly, this is a tense moment here in the city of Dublin, night 2.
I mean, clearly, Connor, it's all happening there right now as we're speaking to you. And I know the Gardaí made a couple of arrests today after what happened last night, but clearly that doesn't seem to be putting people off coming out to protest. Oh, well, that's a shame. I think we lost Connor there, but clearly in the thick of it, there on the outskirts of Dublin, in area of Saggart. We'll come back to him later on Sky News. But in the meantime, a 46-year-old amateur runner from East Sussex has set a new women's world record by running 173 miles in 24 hours. Sarah Webster joins us now, having won gold at the championships in France on Saturday. Sarah, how are the legs?
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me on. Getting there slowly. But yeah, no, it's all good.
You live on the south coast, not far from Brighton. I had a look on a map today, and if you ran 173 miles north, you'd end up in Nottingham. Now, that is a long, long way, and you've obviously got to get over the South Downs where you live as well.
Yes.
How much do you train for this? Do you train running on those steep hills?
I was running on the Downs for a lot of the summer. It was much nicer than running in Brighton. It was quieter, more peaceful. So that was really nice. And then I do a session on the track with Lewis Athletics Club. They've been great supporting me. My coach is there. So they've been fantastic. And it was about 130 miles a week. I was running for about sort of 8 weeks training. Before that, it was probably more like 80 to 100 miles a week.
Which is still a lot, but then to do much more than that in one 24-hour go. And I know you stopped to go to the loo, but by and large, you kept on going. And I know you did because there were 2 other women not far behind you. And I think once you actually broke the record, you were concerned that they were going to take it straight off you if you didn't just carry on.
That's right. Yeah, they were definitely catching me. It was mine to lose at that point. I wanted it. So I just had to keep going.
Well, Sarah, it is magnificent. The only question left is, are you going to go back next year to defend your title, maybe break the record again?
Well, they only have the world 24 hours every 2 years, so I'm safe for next year. I don't know what I'm going to do, to be honest. But I'm a bit too competitive to retire, so I think, there'll be another opportunity, I'm sure.
There's always the 48-hour record, but save that for another 2 days, maybe, Sarah. Good to see you. Really well done from all of us here at Sky News, and good luck next time.
Thank you so much for having me on the programme.
Well, that is all from the UK tonight. You can catch up on all the highlights on our webpage and also by scanning the QR code now. The World is up next.